good evening, morning, afternoon, whatever time of day it is, wherever or whenever you are listening to this. My name is Ant, and I'm here as usual at this point with Mr. Barry Nugent. How are you doing, sir?
No, I'm doing very well. Looking forward to getting your thoughts on the last two episodes of Picard.
2 episodes because we had a bit of a busy week last week between the two of us. We couldn't arrange a time, so unfortunately, it's a bit of a miss. I say unfortunately. I think it'll probably work out quite well, to be honest.
Yeah.
So we're going to be looking at episodes 4 and 5 of Picard season 2 this week. And I'll kind of hit us with the blurb, and then we'll get into it. Apologies if I do kind of ramble off into incoherence. I've not slept for about 6 nights properly, so just rein me in.
I'll do my best. No promises, but I'll do my best.
So here's the synopsis for episode 4, Watcher. With time running out to save the future, Picard takes matters into his own hands and seeks out an old friend for help. Rios ends up on the wrong side of the law, and Jurati makes a deal with the Borg Queen. And then we'll just fast forward a little bit. Episode 5, Fly Me to the Moon. I was going to sing that. I decided not to.
Yeah, okay.
Save everyone. Don't want more rain.
Not after 6 days of no sleep, mate.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, no. Picard discovers an important person from his past may be integral to the divergence in the timeline. Q continues his manipulation of the timeline. Seven and Raffi attempt to rescue Rios. Jurati faces the consequences of her deal with the Borg Queen. So there we go. There's some blurbs.
Some blurbs. Right. Let's get to it. So it's really difficult to talk about these individually. I suppose not. I suppose looking at episode 4, I think overall it was. No, I was going to say overall it was okay, but I actually think I didn't really enjoy it that much. If I'm going to be brutally honest, I was going to be kind of like, no, it was okay, but by and large, I didn't really enjoy it that much.
No, I'm kind of similar, to be fair, and I'd be interested to find out actually if the bits you enjoyed are the same as I have, and I suspect they are, because the stuff I liked was the stuff with Picard and Jurati, like, in the ship and with the Borg Queen and that side of it.
Yeah.
And then the very end scene sort of thing with Q doing his bit, but the kind of stuff with Raffi and Seven I could kind of do without. And the thing that kind of annoyed me a little bit was, and it's done this a lot this series, which is have those like proper kind of like winking callbacks to stuff.
Yeah.
And where they literally had the same guy on the bus with a boombox.
This is from the Voyage Home.
From Voyage Home, yeah.
Yeah.
And like when she says, what's that noise? And he kind of rubs his neck and says, okay, I just really like this song. It's like that's too much for me. Especially because they're in 2024 and he's got a boombox.
I did, and it's weird, isn't it? Because it's been such a long time since I've seen Voyage Home, which I remember going to see at the cinema and actually really enjoying it. And when I saw this scene, it felt odd.
Yeah,
it felt like I was missing something. It felt I was missing out on a gag. And then sure enough, I went online and it was like, hey, did you know this is the same guy from the Voyage Home? And I was like, Oh, okay, right, okay. Because it just felt weird. I was like, why? What's he got a boombox? And it's 2024.
Yeah, it's 2024. He's got boombox. He's there in denims. It just was too much. It was. Because I know a lot of fans, they like those kind of things, but when they're that in your face, it just winds me up. It's like that, and this is how Han Solo got his gun. It's those kind of, it's that too in your face. I like subtle nods.
It's like so obviously this is the episode where we meet young Guinan, isn't it?
Yeah,
and it's like him. So it's like them setting up, which is what we said. It was like in the first episode where he goes to see old Guinan or Whoopi Goldberg Guinan, And he goes to like the 10 forward bar and blah, blah, blah. And we both sort of said, oh, she's obviously going to come into again. There's some sort of importance of it, the fact that they showed the outside of it and all the rest of it. And then we get to this episode and it's him kind of going, it's the same old 10 forward back in the day.
Yeah.
And again, I kind of just struggled with that. One, I struggled with the concept that like that bar's still there and she's working there and but she's about to pull out because basically humanity is rubbish. I'm not necessarily arguing with her reasoning, but I was kind of thinking, but some of her reasoning as well, I was kind of thinking, yeah, but how long have you been there? The impression that I've got is you've been there for centuries, and I'm like, and now you decided to jump ship?
This is the point, you're out.
There's a lot of worse stuff, which she hinted at. There was a lot of worse stuff that I'm thinking I probably would have got the heck out of Dodge.
Yeah.
But again, to play devil's advocate, you can make she was actually waiting for things to get better, and it's almost like it's never getting better, so I'm going.
Yeah.
But again, it just I would have rather it been Whoopi Goldberg personally. That's just me. Because the whole concept as well was the fact that they age differently.
Yeah.
And stuff like that, but you kind of you roll with it. But also, it is. I think a lot of it for me, it's the earthbound time travel stuff in our time that's weighing me down. I still stick with that. Had it been, I don't know, 10 years, even if they'd gone back and it was 10 years in our future, I would be more on board with that than I would the fact that effectively it's 2 years from now.
2 years away, yeah.
It's just too much. So to me, there's times where I kind of forget I'm watching a Star Trek show.
Yes.
It feels like sometimes it feels like I'm watching like a procedural cop show.
Especially when you're throwing a car chase.
Yeah, which is why when it switches to the Durati stuff, I'm like, right, okay, I'm actually watching a sci-fi show. And I know that feels really kind of, I get that not all sci-fi needs to be spaceships and lasers and stuff like that. I get that. But I think just because the time travel element and the way it's being done is so, for me, generic. It's not offering me anything I haven't seen 100 times before.
No, exactly. And for me, it was because it was the thing that because I must admit, I quite liked the actress playing Guy, and I thought she did a really good job.
She did. Yeah.
Her reasonings and stuff, I didn't pick up on as much as you did as a kind of like a now you're out kind of thing. Like, I'm not listening to you now. I completely agree. But when I was watching it, didn't sink into that. The thing that got me more, and again, just really pigeonholes me, but it's the fact that 10 forward on the Enterprise was because it was on deck 10 and it was at the front of the ship. Right? And like I could understand it when he was in the future and she'd got a bar on 10 Forward Avenue because it's like she sorted it out for that nostalgia, right?
Yes.
But then you come back and she's been working there for, it's like, no. I mean, what does she go to the bloody shipyards and go, actually, what we need is a bar right here on this ship. That's the thing that wound me up. But I'm like,
it felt to me like narrative breadcrumbs for the audience. You know, so the minute we're like, oh, okay, so it's going to be like a young guy, and I quite like the fact that she wasn't the Watcher. But again, to me, it feels a lot of this feels like the pacing is off. A lot of it feels like it's just really stretching, and we'll come on to that more in episode 5. But a lot of it just feels like this is just really stretched out.
Yeah, I for me, like episodes 3 and 4. It especially could have been condensed into one. Episode 5, again, we'll get onto it, I suppose, but that felt a bit more like a proper episode to me. But again, it's all Jurati and Picard on the ship, and the scenes with Picard and Jurati in the chateau, and I quite liked the way they did that reveal of Jurati constantly pointing out the number 15.
Yes, yeah.
Thing, and it didn't feel forced. And a leap for Picard to go, do you realize, you've just said the word 15 12 times. You keep picking out things with the 15, and it felt natural, and it felt like the kind of thing that Picard would pick up on.
Yes, which is what I thought as well. Yeah. Given all the stuff that he's been through and stuff like that, he would made the connection. I quite like that.
Yeah, and he is, and he's a big fan of the Dixon Hill detective stuff. So he's got that kind of brain, like they played on it in Next Generation, that he does have that analytical brain and that detective type brain as well. So that was all great. And again, I can't think of her name now, but the lady who plays Jurati is just every episode. She's a joy to watch.
Yeah.
Sometimes it's kind of like a joy, not out of not out of happiness because it's fun little Jurati sort of thing. It's because she just performs so well whatever she's doing, and she manages to flip the bit on it kind of thing, just really well. And the same again with the Borg Queen. I'm really enjoying her.
Yeah. Whereas I feel the Seven, Raffi, and Rios storyline, they're just not being given the same level of weight.
No, they're literally the B plot to give you the action scenes.
Yeah.
And frankly, personally, I could do without the action scenes so far.
And I like them all in the first season and stuff. And I feel like the problem isn't acting chops. They've got the acting chops, but the problem is they're not being given the weighty stuff.
Yeah.
All of that's being handed off.
Yeah, because it's like episode 2 was brilliant. Everyone was utilized really well. You know? And then you get to Earth and it's literally kind of right. You go off and have this adventure. We're going to go here, and actually, you know what? Your adventure to find the watch is going to fail, so we're just going to do that anyway.
Yeah.
And it does feel like they're just being sidelined for the sake of runtime.
Yeah, and they're the ones getting all the the 21st century gags.
Yeah.
They're we can't, you can't drive, and no, we've got to figure it out, which means I'm going to be crashing into loads of things, and I'm going to figure it out, and then I'm going
to be Fast and the Furious all of a sudden.
Yeah, and then we're going to get this speech where Rios is captured, and we're going to get a speech with him basically telling them exactly who he is, and them not believing him, and but it's actually a gag, and and then they break him out, but even that whole sequence, I know part of it was to show something about today's society and all that. Yeah, I get that, but that whole sequence was overblown, overlong.
Yeah, completely agree. I mean, Star Trek should do social commentary, always has, and it should. But when you do it, when it's literally set like now, it almost like it becomes too. It's like we were saying about the Christian from Doctor Who stuff. It's too in your face and too preachy when it does it this way, and it doesn't make you think.
Yeah.
Good sci-fi, good Star Trek, good Doctor Who makes you think about issues because it's tilted. You're looking at it from a different angle. And when it's it's 2 years away. And I'm not saying they shouldn't make these kind of social commentaries, and there are very important issues that they are addressing in those bits, but unfortunately those bits aren't working either because they're not given the weight.
Yeah. If
you want to do that and set it in a modern time, you need to have proper weight there and not be the jokey side plot.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's kind of like almost like they wanted to. It's very similar to Chris Chibble's stuff. It's kind of like got something important to say, but not trusting yourself to say it properly. So just kind of go, hey, here's some jokes around it. It's that kind of thing to me. And it's following the first 2 episodes of this season as well. I'm really struggling with it because I love those. And it's like I just want to get back into, I want to get back into the alternate timeline stuff.
Yeah.
Sorry, go on.
No, you finish.
So I was just going to say, have you got anything more to say about episode 4? Because I was going to segue into 5.
Yeah, well, if the segue was going to be the basic right at the end.
Yes, it was. Yeah.
Because so one, it's a really good end, and so obviously Guinan takes him to meet the Watcher, who turns out to be a ringer for, I've forgotten the name now. Laris. And they then sort of disappear, and there's this strange kind of door opens, and they kind of disappear with a cloud of smoke almost. And at the time, I remember thinking there was something familiar about that.
Yeah.
and I went online, and then it all dated back to a character called Gary Seven, which obviously then gets confirmed in the next episode, who was in an episode of the original Star Trek, which I remember watching as a kid. And he was this kind of futuristic guy but he was on Earth, and he was basically there to kind of protect a particular timeline and stuff like that. And Kirk and Spock were there, and this was back in the 60s. I think it was. I can't remember if it's to do with the Cuban Missile Crisis. I can't remember.
It was, yeah. It was basically he was there trying to prevent nuclear war, basically.
Yeah, but the way to do it was to bring them close to the brink of war.
Yeah. So because I only know that because I was literally reading about it, because I did this. That's the kind of reference I'd like.
Yeah.
Because it was. They haven't. Yeah, they had a line by Picard saying, "Oh, Kirk mentioned someone like you," sort of thing.
Yeah,
but that's fine, because that's what made me go and look, and it's like, oh, okay, I see what you did, and look, you did the effect exactly the same. Nice.
Yeah,
that's just subtle enough and just in your face enough to tread the line properly for me.
Yeah, and it was actually good. I remember the episode. I really liked the episode as well. And here's my thing. I really liked the idea. I liked the idea of tying it back in. I thought that, yeah, that's nice. And this idea of there's someone on Earth and their sole purpose is to protect one person.
Yeah.
Timeline, because that timeline is going to be so important and stuff like that.
Yeah, and they don't necessarily know why either. It's just
exactly, yeah. And then it did two things where I was just like, this is literally like Fonzie jumping the shark. So one, the Watcher is basically Laris, but it isn't, with no explanation as to why that is the case. Now, okay, they may explain that down the line, but there's a part of me is like, but why even do that? Why couldn't it have just been a completely different actress?
Yeah.
So you had that, which is confusing, and then the concept of the one person who's gonna cause all of this stuff is Picard's ancestor.
Yeah.
And that's where I was like, oh.
Yeah.
What?
So with that, I mean, I did like the whole thing with Q kind of doing his monologue, and it introducing, and you didn't know who it was other than she was credited as Renee Picard kind of thing.
Yeah.
But then I just really liked the end of the episode where he just clicked his fingers, nothing happened, and he's like, "Oh, that's unfortunate." I thought John Delancey played that really well.
Yeah, I mean, so obviously there's a whole element of Q is either losing his powers or can't do certain things. We're not quite sure. Maybe he's ill. I don't know. But it also felt a little bit like it was the writer's way of how can we
depower him enough?
How can we
have him in it?
Yeah, how can we depower him enough to have him in it as a regular almost?
Yeah. As an actual antagonist kind of thing.
Yeah. That almost puts him on a similar level to Picard and the gang, because in the part he could just click his fingers and it's all good.
Yeah. See, that hadn't really registered. I just quite liked it, and I was intrigued enough by the concept to not delve into that kind of thing. But yeah, no, you're right. But I'm, so far I'm liking it, and we'll get on more in a minute when we talk about episode 5. The only other thing I want to say about episode 4, and it does again lead into episode 5, was the Europa mission in 2024. That's a real thing that is being planned for 2024.
Oh, is it?
Yeah, it's a NASA project that's currently scheduled for 2024. And it's not the same. I don't think it's not like a manned mission to Europa, I don't think, but there is a Europa mission planned which is going to Europa.
Okay.
So I did quite like that little touch, and sort of tying that into Star Trek and giving it that kind of more like, it's man's first step out and kind of thing, like, and the fact that it's, it'll be Renee Picard who finds something that leads people to really look to the stars, sort of thing.
Yeah.
So I do like all that. Still not quite sure how this does pave the way for the dark future, as it were.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, I'd say the episode 5 I enjoyed a lot more. I found there was a lot more meat to it, and it felt like an episode.
Yes, yeah. I think I have to keep telling myself, because how many is this? 10?
I'm not sure. Yeah, I thought it was 6 or 7 for a while, but I saw there was a thing. I think it's 10. I think.
Yeah.
I'll check while you carry on saying what you said.
So, you know, in one respect, we're halfway through the story. So, you know, it is easy for me to sort of go, oh, I can't believe it's like his ancestor, and I can't believe the sort of agent on Earth looks like Laris. You know, why have they done that and stuff? Whereas there's still 5 more episodes, I'm hoping, to kind of unravel all of that.
Yeah, 10 episodes. You're right.
Yeah, so there's, you know, we're halfway through. You know, so I think the fact that that his ancestor is dealing with depression, I think is going to be a bit of a running theme to do with his mum as well.
Yeah.
And I kind of liked the idea that it was Q behind, you know, Q was her doctor, trying to talk her out of going on the mission. Although, and then you sort of go, oh, it's just a stupid accent he's doing. But then you kind of think, but that is Q. And that's kind of how
exactly what he would do. He would go full Freud.
Yeah, he is a bit of a buffoon. You know, I mean, he's a buffoon with godlike powers. You know,
yeah.
So you kind of go, okay. I think, I did enjoy that. I definitely enjoyed this episode more. It felt like it was moving forward a bit more. I still think there's problems with pacing. I still think like a lot of what's going on, this all could have been done in 2 episodes.
Yeah.
And even that, I'm being, you know.
Yeah, I think these 3 episodes definitely could have been condensed a lot.
Yeah,
for sure.
But I'm glad that they're back. I'm glad they're all back together now, because I think that might move things, further along. And again, the whole kind of concept, we've now got to break into this place. It all felt a little bit Ocean's 11. And again, I felt just as I was getting into it, there was a little bit of a kind of, I've been here before.
Yeah.
And this is the bit now where they lay out all the security for me, and they cut to show you what the security is, and then they did that, and I was like, okay,
yeah.
You know. However, I'm still loving the Ball Queen Girardi stuff.
Yeah, it's. I didn't touch on the bits that happened in episode 4, but yeah, every time they're on screen, it's like it's electric for me. You know, it's proper chemistry, proper drama.
Yeah.
Like, you know, I mean, and going back to episode 4, I'd love the bit where, and it's to do with the car chase, which is why I didn't want to dwell on it, but where Girardi basically makes a deal with the Ball Queen, but then immediately breaks that deal.
Yeah.
You know, and it's like, yeah, you got some chops in you there somewhere. Yeah. And then what they did this episode and how it finished with them as well, it was like, yeah, this is good. And that timed me back into what you were saying in episode 1 or episode 2
about her becoming the queen. Yeah.
And I think that that's definitely the way things are going now. But I like how they've done it.
Yes, if that's what happens, I've got no problem. I'd be really surprised in a nice way if they pull the rug out from under us and they've actually been leading us along to go, yeah, this is what you think, this is who you think it's going to be, but actually
completely different, my friends.
Yeah. But whichever way they go, I'm happy with that path that they're on. But
yeah,
even
those scenes haven't stepped a foot wrong for me.
I really liked and I wasn't sure if I would. I quite like the stuff with Dr. Sung. Yeah,
absolutely. I thought, but I mean, Brent Spiner, when he actually acts, you know, he's properly on form. In fact, to be fair, the only time I think of him not really acting properly was in Independence Day. Where I was just like, oh, what are you doing? But yeah, it's kind of like he's really good, and I like his look that he's got for this. I do find it extremely convenient that his daughter looks exactly like the artificial intelligence woman. I'm used to seeing Sungs look like Brent Spiner now. You know, I can roll with, because it is what it is. But that other bit is kind of like, yeah, again, it could have been anyone else, and you didn't need it for. It's not like it added any kind of like emotional connection to the character when she had the genetic disease. She had a horrible genetic disease. You felt for her anyway.
Yeah,
you know, it didn't need to be a face you knew.
And I think in some ways it would have probably deepened the emotional stuff for me because of the fact that the minute I saw her, I was like, kind of like, well, what's she doing there? What? Whereas if it had been, this is my daughter, and it was just someone, it was another actress, it would have been quicker for me to get behind the whole, this is why he's doing it, you know, he's got this relation with her daughter, whereas it just felt a little bit like, you know, oh, wouldn't it be cool if,
yeah,
in the same way as like, you know, wouldn't it be cool if it was Laris, because then there's a whole whatever, whereas you've already established there was a potential romantic relationship with Laris, which he kind of, you know, squashed in the beginning, and you could have still had that thread running through, I think, anyway, without necessarily having her in it.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I mean, there's a small part, and to be fair, I've only just thought of this now. You know, sleep addled brain and all that. But there's a part of me that's wondering how much of this is Q's manipulation. You know, how has he brought faces back?
Oh yes. That's a good point, actually.
But I have literally only just thought about that now, so I've not investigated it in my head anymore. But there is a little bit. It's like, you know, is this, you know, bringing Picard's past into the past sort of thing
to kind of mess with him or to jog him?
Yeah, exactly.
The way he wants him to go,
get him the way he needs to be, kind of thing. Because if, you know, if Picard meets Sung and his daughter, he's going to immediately have that connection with the daughter, I suppose, which, as I've just said, for me, it wasn't a thing.
Yeah.
But for Picard, you know, he's had that relationship with that character. So he may well then be more susceptible to manipulations in that way, sort of thing. Possibly. I don't know. Maybe, you know, I might be giving too much credit there, and I've not investigated it much because it's just popped in my head. But yeah, there's always this part of me that wants to give the writers of this series a lot of credit, and the benefit of the doubt, because I think, you know, season 1 was really solid for the most part. The first 2 episodes were spot on, I thought.
Yeah.
So there's a part of me when I've not been enjoying bits, or when I've kind of thought that's a bit, you know, what do I need that actor for, or whatever. There's a part of me that wants to give them that benefit, and that's the only way I could see of giving them the benefit in this instance.
Yeah, and I think some of it for me, I've got my issues with it and stuff like that, and there's some stuff in there that I've enjoyed or whatever. But I generally think some of it for me, it's because this week I saw they put out a new trailer for Strange New Worlds, which is the new Star Trek one they got coming.
Yeah, that's the Pike one, isn't it?
This is the Pike one, and I watched the trailer for that, and I think what it is I genuinely just miss outer space and exploration and weird stuff going on, and planets and strange aliens and getting into strife, and there's lasers and do you know what I mean? And I think that's what it is. And I think when I sit down to watch anything Star Trek related, that's kind of what I'm looking for.
Yeah. No, I completely get that.
So when I even saw the trailer for like next week's one, and I wanted to get excited about it, but I'm kind of like, they're in tuxes and they're at a party and they're obviously trying to do a kind of Mission Impossible thing. But I'm like, but it just feels everyday for me. It feels too everyday, and I think that's what I struggle with. And I kind of, it sounds silly, but there's a little bit in episode 5 where Sung kind of makes the, you know, Q sort of basically gives him a sample of the cure, and he uses it on her, and you get a sense, then that's where you get a sense that obviously we're kind of 2 years on, so technology is slightly more advanced, and obviously he's this amazing scientist, so his technology is slightly more advanced. And I kind of like the fact that he had these kind of like little robots that
like
were
the shield drones
thing, and I really liked. And then she started to get affected, and you had to sort of bring them back in and stuff. And for me, I was like, oh, great. It's like every time I see a little bit of sci-fi or a little bit of tech on this show, I kind of cling to it.
Yeah.
Because the rest of it just feels
mundane.
It just feels too, it just feels too mundane for me, which is why I keep saying about the pacing. Maybe the pacing isn't a problem, but for me, it is that kind of, I kind of just want them to do what they've got to do, get back to the future. Any future, and then have to deal with the Borg, threat, What I don't want is they don't go back into episode 9 and then it's like, now we've got to deal with the Borg for like one episode. You know.
I know. Look, it's Jurati, and she wanted to be friends after all.
Yeah. I kind of want it to be. What I'm hoping is all of this us railing against stuff is it's suddenly going to turn a corner, and I'm going to suddenly sit there and go, actually, the show's cleverer than I gave it. You know what I mean? It's cleverer than I gave it credit for, and I should have just waited a bit and stayed the course.
Yeah. Completely agree. What you're saying, no, I completely get it. I mean, I've started during the course of us watching Picard, like last week. I've watched season 4 of Discovery, and that felt like Star Trek. It was proper because it's in the future and stuff. But they were doing the kind of like the exploration-y type stuff was happening, and I really enjoyed it. So yes, that is what I'm missing from this. And I think that's, watching Picard, I think that's one reason why I went back to watch seasons 3 and 4 of Discovery, was because I was missing the spaceships. Yeah. But while there's a part of me that doesn't like the original Enterprise, I do not like the look of the ship. But I love Star Trek ships in general.
Yeah.
I there's something about them that just keeps drawing me in. I went back to play Star Trek Online because I missed the ships.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think it's exactly what you've just said. It's kind of it's not feeling. I love the characters, love the actors, and I'm willing to give the writers the benefit. I really like the direction, to be fair, as well. I think the intercutting of scenes sometimes has been really, really good, and the actual the framing of things has been really good throughout. So it is literally just that kind of like, it's the writing for me and the pacing that's letting it down. But I want to give them that benefit of the doubt, and I want it to turn the corner. I'm just dreading that it doesn't. But I'm not enjoying it. I'm still looking forward to tomorrow when I can watch the next episode. It's not like I'm kind of like, oh no, I've just got to watch it because we're doing a podcast. It's like I'm genuinely looking forward to it.
I felt a little bit like that going into episode 5, but I enjoyed episode 5 more. So now I'm kind of more, and because I feel the plot is moving somewhere, and there's actually more of a, we've got to do this thing,
Yeah.
Let's maybe look forward more to the next episode. But I still can't help but think to myself, I really hope that this is the episode where. And I don't think it will be. I keep thinking, I really hope this is the last episode with them here.
Yeah, I think we've got at least 2 more.
I think we've got a while. A while. And in my head, I can almost get a sense of when they eventually go back or something, it will be, them realizing that actually they need to let her take all the power. The bit at the beginning.
Yes.
It's almost like, oh, no, let her do it. She knows what she's doing. I don't know. But the thing I'm really interested in is Q's endgame.
Yeah, because there's been no hints whatsoever, really, is there, about what's going on with him, or and why he's lost his powers other than plot reasons, and why he's doing what he's doing, and why he was so angry with Picard at the beginning.
Yeah, and I know he said something about, he said something to him like, you're not just a piece, you're the very board on which the game is played. And I don't know if that's obviously this whole concept of, what Rene Picard does changes the course of history for the better. So you make the argument that Picard line is effectively what changes and saves humanity. Now, whilst that may read, on one hand, that may read good. On the other hand, personally, I preferred the concept that Q was just intrigued by Picard.
Yeah.
And he kind of bested him in their first encounter, and he almost thought, hang on a minute, this guy's got potential. And by extension, humanity, maybe humanity's got more potential than I thought it had. So let me keep testing this guy, pushing this guy, see how far I can go with him.
Yeah.
So that is what I quite like. But I think we now live in this kind of with shows and stuff where they seem to drop into this concept of everything has to be connected.
Yeah.
Everything has to be connected. Someone has to be someone's brother, or you got to find out they're their brother, or you got to find out that they were both, abandoned at birth, and everything has to be connected. And I don't always think that is a good thing.
No.
But time will tell on this one. We're 5 episodes in. I think 6 will be quite a pivotal one for me in terms of where I'm going with it.
Yeah, no, that's fair. So I just want to say one more thing, which is something that I read way back when episode 2 was out, and it's to do with Q and his motivations. And I've not seen anything else to support it, and I don't necessarily think it's a long game. But I remember reading this article, and the guy was saying basically that his thought was that essentially humanity failed the Borg encounter by not accepting the Borg as another form of life and basically going to war.
Right.
And that this was almost like this is a consequence of that failure, and actually what's supposed to happen now is with the Borg Queen coming again and they blew up the ship, actually, as you say, they should have let her do what she did and join the Federation and accept the Borg for who they are, and as being another form of life. Because, Starfleet's all about embracing new forms of life, right?
Yeah.
So there's a part of me that thinks that would be quite nice. But I can't see how this ties into that now.
No.
Other than to make Jurati the Queen.
Yeah.
And make that kind of revelation easier.
Yeah, I was worried it was going to turn into a whole, and I don't necessarily know everything about the Borg history, so this might have already happened, I don't know. But part of me was like, I really hope this isn't going to turn into a whole kind of, the Borg started on Earth.
Yeah.
That's at the back of my mind, and I'm like, please, do not go down this road.
Yeah. Yeah, I'd not considered that horribleness.
Yeah. And at the end, it's going to get cast out into like the cosmos or something. And it's kind of they were us the whole time.
Yeah,
so just don't.
No.
Just don't.
No, it's the one thing that I hated about the new Cybermen Doctor Who. It's like, they're all okay. It's in a parallel Earth, but it's like, no, no, don't want it.
Yeah.
Thanks.
But as I said, I'm still keeping my cautiously optimistic hat on. Into the next episode. I think it's the best way.
Absolutely. And as I said, I'm looking forward to it. Unless I'm awake really, I won't watch it in the morning, but I'll certainly be sitting down with a beer to watch it in the evening, if nothing else.
They seem to move it, because the first couple I was able to watch really early in the morning, and then ever since then they've not dropped them first thing in the morning. I've had to wait sort of afternoon time.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah.
Cool. Right, do you want to round us out then? Yes,
we hope you enjoyed our kind of double header episode. We obviously had a lot of things to say, not all nice, but we've got to get into it. So if you agree or disagree with what we said, really interested to hear people's comments on this season, actually, because what I've seen on online has been quite divisive in terms of where people are on it. So I'm really interested to get people's thoughts on it. And you can do that, but you can drop us an email, thegeeks@geeksyndicate.co.uk. We are on Twitter. We have a GS Facebook group. It's a private group, but you just knock on the door and we'll let you in. I'll put the link in the show notes. And we're on Instagram and all over the shop. And I want to just take a moment to thank everyone that has been either joined our Patreon or just sends us a donation or buys us a cup of virtual cop. Not buys us a cop. Buys us a cup.
A cup of virtual coffee.
Yeah, buys us a cup of virtual coffee via Ko-fi. So yeah, just big thanks to those. You know who you are. But yeah, I just want to say a big thank you, because it is all funds go back into payment of the show, which is great.
Yeah, just reiterating what B says there. Yeah, thank you, and we'll see you. Well, we'll talk to you next time. I'll say see. We'll never see you.
No.
But yeah, have a good week, and we'll talk to you next time.
Live long and prosper all.